We'll now move on to hearing from the representatives from the G20 countries as they share their views with us for an engaging 5 minutes each. May I invite to the podium Excellency Mr. Alejandro Simancas Maran, Ambassador of Cuba, up on the stage.
So good afternoon. So dear members of the government of Nagaland, dear friends, my colleagues from the diplomatic corps, I will try to be brief, to be limited to the time given to me. So it's a real pleasure to be here in this G20 business meeting. In almost 24 hours in this beautiful land of Nagaland, we have discovered the culture, the tradition of the people. We have learned about the work that the government is doing, and we have been witnesses of the beauty of this landscape. For us, it's a real learning. And I deeply appreciate this opportunity, as well as I deeply appreciate all the hospitality given to us by the government, the people of Nagaland, and particularly by the Chief Minister. This cultural diversity and the vitality of Nagaland reaffirm for me the concept we have in Cuba that homeland is humanity, which we can say in India like Usaideva Kutumbakan. Cuba is a Latin American country, is the largest island in the Caribbean, very far from here, more than 15,000 kilometers, but this has never been an impediment for Cuba and India to be very close, to develop a long-standing relationship based on the feeling of friendship, the cooperation, dialogue, and also the admiration. We have a very important, a very intensive, high-level exchange of visit. We have a very important political dialogue and a very important, of course, cooperation in the field of in the multilateral and international arena. Very briefly, I would like to refer to some sectors in our economic relations. We consider India a strategic partner for Cuba in our plan to change the energy matrix. We are developing 4 big economic projects in the field of renewable energy, in the field of wind energy, solar energy, and biomass energy. Also, I would like to mention the biopharmaceutical industry, which is perhaps the most dynamic sector during the last 25 years in our economic relationship. Cuba, as well as India, has a very important biopharmaceutical and biotechnological industry. Just for example, I would like to mention that the only one Latin American COVID vaccine is Cuban, which has been very effectively applied not only in Cuba but also in many countries, and not only in Latin America but also in Asia and even in Europe and Africa. The another sector, of course, for us, fundamental in our cooperation is the Ayurveda. We are developing a cooperation with India in order to improve the work of the Panchakarma Center in Havana, but also to improve the formation of the young medicine student to have as a complementary medicine formation the Ayurvedic medicine. And the last sector is the agriculture, taking into consideration that we are importing right now a very important amount of Indian rice. So in that way, I would like to confirm our will to develop the relationship with Nagaland, using the economic potential, using the potential in the agriculture, and also having into consideration that Cuba is very well known by the international cooperation. We would like to offer all our capacity of cooperation in the field of medicine, education, and sports. In the same way, we are exploring different opportunities with some other Indian states. I would like to point out that Cuba is chairing this year the G77 group, and we are which India is also a member, and we are developing different cooperation international projects, always, but particularly this year has the symbolic meaning, having into consideration the chairing of Cuba of G77 and the chairing of India of G20. So finally, I would like to say that Cuba is a land of culture, history, music, dancing, and above all, is the Cuban people is of treasury, is openness, sincerity, and friendship. And Cuba is also a land of beautiful landscapes, the most beautiful, whitest, sandy beaches that reflects a unique blue sky. And I would like to show very briefly a 2-minute video of Cuba, through which I would like you to be embraced by the song and the one of Cuba. So please.
Viajar es sinónimo de vivir, de explorar, de sentir. Siéntete libre de vivir experiencias únicas. En Cuba, todos los días son irrepetibles. Un país familiar, lleno de alegrías para todos. Un lugar mágico. Regálate ese momento donde sientes que tu felicidad es lo primero del día. Es un país con una rica herencia cultural, histórica. En sus calles se respiran vivencias, historias viejas y nuevas. Disfruta lo autóctono, lo desconocido. Viaja a tu niñez, a tu adolescencia, a tu país, al mío. La mesa cubana es una experiencia, un recuerdo, un instante que jamás olvidarás. Paraíso tropical, lleno de vida, donde siempre hay un espacio para relajar, disfrutar del silencio, del tiempo en familia, de un momento contigo mismo. Cuba te recibe con los brazos abiertos. Somos una isla de verdes intensos y azules de ensueño que te invita a revelar nuevos espacios llenos de misterio, de belleza dispuesta a ser descubierta solo por ti, donde habitan los ríos más hermosos, las playas más cristalinas del mundo. Suelta todas las amarras. Ven a Cuba y explora la plenitud. Cada sitio está listo para ti. Cada aventura te espera. Entrégate al placer de tener una familia más. La adrenalina también tiene espacio. La diversión está garantizada y pensada para toda la familia, para compartir momentos que solo puedes vivir en Cuba. Cuba te espera. Vive su ritmo, su gente, su alegría. Respira el bienestar y la seguridad en cada rincón de la isla. Respira, Cuba.
So you can take this video as a letter of invitation to Cuba. And once again, my gratitude to the government and people of Nagaland. Thank you very much.
Invite Excellency Mr. Gudni Bragason, Ambassador Iceland, to come and share his thoughts.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the government of Nagaland for the invitation to visit this beautiful state, and the B20 and the CII for the initiative and organization of the whole trip, and for attending the conference here in Kohima. It is certainly exciting for me to visit this northeastern part of India, so different from other parts of the country I have visited, and certainly different from my country, Iceland. My country is surrounded by the ocean, with a beautiful but harsh nature, which can be brutal sometimes. But Nagaland is, as you know, all beauty and everything grows here. In spite of the huge difference in size and population, Iceland and India, and Iceland and Nagaland have many things in common. As one of our poets put it, the heartbeat of the people is the same all over the world. And this applies to all of us. I'd like to highlight a few matters that we have in common. And firstly, the global cooperation on sustainability and creating a sustainable future for all according to the Sustainable Development Goals. We have directed our efforts to protect the natural resources of the ocean, fish stocks, and promote the utilization of renewable energy, sustainable energy, especially geothermal energy, which is also in abundance in India, especially here in the northern part of the country. We welcome the emphasis of the Indian and the Nagaland governments on sustainability that aims to promote green energy and better quality of life for future generations. Secondly, I would like to mention tourism. And one only has to look around to see the great potential for a robust tourism sector in Nagaland. And it is a wonderful tourist destination, and especially for the concerned and nature-loving visitor who is respectful of the culture and the nature of the country he or she is visiting. Thirdly, I would like to highlight innovation, which lies at the heart of the policies of our government, but clearly also at the policies of the Indian government and the Nagaland governments. We would like to explore opportunities that lie in the health sector, software development, green technology, the creative sector, cultural tourism, of course, and specialized products and nature products. Both our countries are innovative countries, despite the difference in size, with a strong technical infrastructure, education system, research and development institutions, and also a great support for gender equality. But first and foremost, we have people with good and new ideas. Thank you.
I would like to invite next His Excellency Mr. Jason Keats Matthew Hall, High Commissioner, Jamaica. Please take the stage.
Good afternoon. I think one thing you'll hear today is that you're going to find the most best speech in Cuba, best destination in Panama. I think everybody is contesting with bests. So I'm going to add to that list of bests, because Jamaica, where I hail from, is a land of superlatives, known in the world for our legacy of excellence in sport as well as music. Jamaica is the most musical country on the planet per capita, and is also home to the world's fastest man, woman, boy, girl. If there was a race for babies, it would be in it too. So we have a very strong value proposition in the world, given our strategic geographic location, as most countries in the Caribbean do, being at the nexus of North, South, and Central America. What sets Jamaica apart is the combination of this strategic geographic positioning with the endowment of an investor, business friendly environment, replete with tremendous incentives and, of course, a very skilled, highly adaptable and capable human resource. And it's these that put us in a position to be a leading investment destination in the Caribbean and Latin America today. We are globally recognized as being ranked 6th globally in terms of starting a business. I believe you can start a business in Jamaica now in less than 48 hours, which is quite impressive. But more importantly, we see other gains being made, particularly in public partnerships. Jamaica is ranked as being number 4 in the Caribbean and Latin America. And of course, a very interesting little known fact is the prowess of the Jamaican Stock Exchange, which was actually rated by Bloomberg as the #1 stock exchange in the world in 2015 and 2018, boasting a stock rally of 246%. I think #2 was Vietnam at 76%. So this is testament to the type of environment that we're in, the type of business acumen that we possess, and where we're headed as a people. So in terms of the key strategic sectors for investment, we are focused in agribusiness, energy, creative industries, infrastructure, logistics, manufacturing, outsourcing, which of course BPO, and we're the leading BPO destination in the Caribbean, and tourism, which is where we see such great commonalities with Nagaland. We have so much in common in that regard. But I will say that I have to contest that claim about the world's hottest pepper. I think we're going to have a pepper Olympics. We're going to invite your pepper to come, because I do believe that that title is not held here. But like here, we have tremendous agricultural produce. There's something Darwinian when you put products on an island and they're left to grow and develop on their own. When you go to Jamaica, everything tastes different. And of course, we have some of the world's finest coffee, and I see through the corner of my eye my colleague from Panama, with whom I have a regular debate about who has the best coffee. I'm going to leave it to you to decide. You'll have to taste it. But here in Nagaland, you actually have tremendous potential with your coffee. So this brings me to talk about some of the areas of collaboration and cooperation that we could explore between Jamaica and Nagaland. Of course, Jamaica and India have a long-standing relationship spanning over 60 years of uninterrupted diplomatic relations. And interestingly, the Indian High Commissioner to Jamaica is from Nagaland. So of all the people here, all of my colleagues, I think we're the closest to Nagaland because we have that connection. So the areas of collaboration and cooperation that I would identify center primarily on tourism. Jamaica, as a mature tourism destination, has a tremendous amount of experience in promotion, in travel trade engagement, in branding development and placement. And so these are areas that we feel that we could lend some assistance to Nagaland in crafting a value proposition to diverse your tourism mix and to better engage the travel world. There are also areas of economic impact assessment. I hear a lot of talk about festivals. It's always good to apply an economic model to gauge the social and economic impact of an event. And so in this regard, we have fashioned some economic models that we use to determine the viability of an event, how much economic impact it's going to have, what is going to be the cost of the event to the economy and to the stakeholders, and finally, of course, which areas we should be pushing. There's also the matter of resilience, and this is an area where India is particularly strong, so much so that it is leading the globe on that front. And in Jamaica, we have fashioned the Center for Tourism Resilience. And this is an area, tourism is one of the fastest growing industries in the world, but it's also the most vulnerable. And this, you'll find, is something that we all need to work together to build resilience against potential shocks that we face. There are also areas of sport tourism and diversified. Nagaland, I find, to be particularly amenable to staging high-intensity sporting events, things like Ironman races, mega events that bring people from all over the world and give you the type of exposure that you need to grow as a tourism destination. And this is something we have a lot of experience in. I in fact have the honor of having written Jamaica's sport tourism policy. So this is something we're very strong in. Thank you. There's also the matter of tourism linkages. Tourism in general is a very diverse industry with multiple stakeholders, but there are often leakages of your revenue. And so it is how you develop and create the linkage opportunities. So tourism directly links with agriculture because the agricultural outputs are used in the tourism industry. So what we have done is we fashioned a way to enhance those linkage mechanisms so as to reduce the amount of leakage of tourism revenue. I mentioned your potential in coffee, and agriculture is an area where we certainly could collaborate, especially in terms of establishing a global coffee brand. We feel that you have a strong product, you have the environment for it, but what are you doing to place that product on the global stage? How are you going about marketing that? How are you going about that presentation? That's an area where we could collaborate very closely. And of course you have the matter of nutraceuticals, functional foods and agricultural produce. When you have an environment like this, you often tend to find that you have foods of high nutritional value, and these can be cultivated in a manner and promoted so that the world knows about the nutritional value of your produce. Another area of collaboration would be sports development. Currently, right now, we have a young lady from India who is training to be a sprinter. Her name evades me, but I guarantee you that you're gonna know about her at the next Olympics. Interestingly, Jamaica has won over a third of the total medals to be won in the Olympics. The only other country to have won more than us is the USA, and they outnumber us by a factor of 100. One of the reasons for this, our success, apart from our attitude and the way we train and our outlook to life, is our topography, and you have that topography here. So all these children I see walking to school in the mornings, climbing these hills, they are creating the necessary building blocks to become the future world champions. And so we offer that service to get you faster, to get you up on the medal podium. There's also education and academic exchange, and these are areas which I feel are always valuable, and certainly one thing COVID has done for us is enabled us. It may have separated us physically, but it has brought us closer together digitally. So there's scope for far greater and deeper collaboration academically between institutions, and this is an area where we could cover all of the previous areas on a virtual basis and a sustained basis. And finally, I mentioned earlier at a previous engagement in Sikkim, the whole matter of G2G and B2B, but of course what drives me most is H to H, and that is heart to heart. So being here in person, engaging with people, meeting people, these are the types of exchanges that are meaningful and lasting. And in that regard, cultural exchanges. The cultural expose that was on show last night was nothing short of incredible. It is truly admirable. And I couldn't help but feel that it could have, I can't wait to see the collaboration between that and some reggae music so that we can really rock the planet in true fashion. So I look forward, thank you. I look forward to learning more. Nagaland, this is my first visit, it won't be my last. For those of you who are interested, I welcome you to Jamaica. For those of you who are not interested, get interested. It's a fabulous place to be. And most importantly, there's no visa requirement for holders of Indian passports. So please, come to Jamaica. Jai Hind, Jaya Jamaica. Respect.
May I now invite to the podium Excellency Mrs. Jaziel Burigio, the Ambassador and Consul General, Panama.
Good afternoon, everyone. A special guest invited to this B20 conference, colleagues, ambassadors and consul generals, and diplomats in general. G20 delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is an immense pleasure for me to be here, enjoying this warm welcome from all the Nagaland people. I feel a very huge hospitality by all of you. There is a joyful environment, and there is a special details for the G20 guests all over, beginning from the hotel, from the transportation, from the people that is surrounding us. I feel very special, thanks for that. And also I feel very commonly associated to what I feel in Panama. When I was in the airplane, I was expecting to see more green than what I see in Juneri, that it's my house right now, and I do see green. I do feel very special because my country is full of green also. So I think we have a couple of things in common, I'm going to mention. One of the things is that we are very small. Panama is the size of Assam, more or less. So you can have an idea. And we enjoy, admire, and culture in all we can the forest and the preservation of the woods and all that is green. Panama, it's a carbon negative carbon negative country. So this means that 63% of our forest and of our lands, it's all forest. So we have a very pure air, just like Nagaland, and beautiful skies. And we really try to work in the sustainable development in all the possible ways we can. We also are a country of low population. We are only 4 million people, and the most important thing is that we admire and have 7 groups of tribal people in Panama, which are very different from each other and have different dialects. And just like Nagaland, they have their own land given by the government since 1950. That makes us a country that appreciate not only the forest but the tribal traditions. And an example of this is that just in my presentations, I am always with my tribal kind of textiles that we use in Panama to promote the admiration for our tribal population. So we also have things in agriculture very common. As I am listening to the other speakers, I can see that we also develop agriculture just like Nagaland, very similar products, except for the hottest chili in the world, which I totally cannot compete with that. But we both like rice, we both like corn, and we are like high consumers of that. We produce a very good coffee, just like Jamaica, maybe better, as to say. But Jamaica have the best runners, for sure. And by the way, I really enjoy the coffee I just take recently. It's a very soft and delicious coffee, so congratulations Nagaland for that. And it's really good and organic. You can feel the fresher of the coffee. So let's talk about the opportunities after this. But before that, I'm going to mention some couple of things of Panama that you can get to know in your mind an idea of my country. Right now, 2 weeks ago, we, according to Bloomberg 2023 analysis, it reveals that we have a growth of 10.8% in Latin America economy. That means we are number one and two with Colombia, which is like the fastest economy in the region. Even though we are a very small country, we are very strong in logistics, which is our treasure with the Panama Canal, of course, that you might listen before. So we are a democratic, stable country in Latin America. We have the dollar currency. We enjoy of security, And as I mentioned before, we are very strong in everything that is logistics. So this means that any business you do in Panama, which is in the center of all the America continent, is a strategical location, allow such a easy way of doing business and transportation through all the continent from our unique country. So what are the opportunities after analyzing and listening to the speakers before? I think that in the Western, we are more conscious of what we are eating and the kind of food we are eating. We are also getting into the organic, but we are also beginning to analyze the ancestral grain products, which are the millets. And now India, it's important and it's on the spotlight worldwide. This year, because of the International Year of the Millet, India is hosting, and I heard that also Nagaland is producing millets. So I think that in the Western we just get to know the recipes. I have tasted like a kind of a variety of cakes and different kind of products which are new for us, but they taste delicious. We get to get more conscious of our eating and the exporting of the millets to not only my country but in the Western continent. It's gonna be like a good hit because we need that. Also, the weaving and tribal exchange will be very positive. As I mentioned, we have 7 kind of tribal groups in Panama. And the learning from women will be very interesting, and an exchange of tribal knowledge and how each tribal in each country, or in this case the state, can make an interchange of different kind of best practices in that area, and best practices in agriculture too. We are very good in agriculture also, because we are a low population country. We have a control of that, but of course there are things we can share and we can learn together. So I think that cultural exchange and agricultural exchange of knowledge and best practices will be something that can be developed. Just to finish, I have a final remark. I'm very impressed of yesterday's presentation and performance, and Nagaland is full of talent, and of course learning that you are a peace promoter after a history of things that's happened in the past. And now the main thing I get about Nagaland is the community spirit, and as the shield of Nagaland says, the unity. For me it's very special that you have 17 kind of tribes being together in community, working together in unity. So I really congratulate this state because of that. I think you have to perceive and unite to accomplish the goals you have as a state. Congratulations for that, and thank you.
May I now invite Mr. Excellency, Mr. Fleming Raul Duarte Ramos, Ambassador, Paraguay.
Apuni Balahase. I know we are now probably in a very last moment of this beautiful encounter here in Nagaland. The beauty of Nagaland, I think, is very difficult to describe. But ladies and gentlemen, authorities, dear friends of the diplomatic community, at the outset I would like to congratulate the authorities of India, and especially to the authorities of Nagaland for organizing such a beautiful conclave. I am also a guest. I don't belong to the G20, but next year Brazil is going to take the lead, and as a Mercosur country, we are going to be co-hosting the G20. As I say before, it's very difficult to describe the richness of cultural, skills and heritage of this beautiful state. We also have very many similarities between Nagaland and Paraguay. We also respect a lot of our tribal original inhabitants. In fact, we inherit a language from the Guarani. We have two official languages, Spanish and Guarani, by constitution. So that is also a signal that we care about our native inhabitants. We respect them. They are very rich in culture also, musical and dancing and literature. Regarding agriculture, I cannot compete with the spices of the most hot chilies of the world, but I can compete with the sweetest sugar in the world, stevia. Stevia is originated in Paraguay. It's a natural sweetener, 0 calories, very good for diabetes and for health, of course. We are the first exporter of organic sugar and other crops like soybeans, sunflowers, also cassava, corn, rice, wheats. Our country is very much also blessed by nature. We feed 600 million people in the world with our agricultural products. We are in the process of manufacturing, and we have a lot of energy in that regard. We hold the second largest hydro plant in the world, the Itaipu Dam, that produces 14,000 megawatts. It's only comparative to the Chinese Trigorgai's hydro plant. We are also landlocked, but I like that word landlinked. I think we are also landlinked, and curiously enough, water is our most precious natural resource. We hold the most important aquifer water, sweet water aquifer in the world, the Guarani aquifer. We have several rivers and lakes. Actually, our main way of transportation is hydrovia that links the country to the ocean, to the Atlantic Ocean. Tourism, ecotourism is also growing very well. We have a memorandum of understanding with the government of India. My Minister of Tourism came before the pandemic to sign this memorandum, so we can also extend that kind of agreement with Nagaland. We organized a couple of fun tours to Paraguay. In that regard, we cover some costs of these tours, like transportation, accommodation to the country. So that also can be replicated with beautiful Nagaland. In conclusion, I would like also to stress, and thanks to the government of India, of the reciprocation of opening a new mission in Paraguay last year. His Excellency Ian Jai Shankar was in Asunción inaugurating this new mission. And we are increasing our relationship, people to people. We are working in the visa procedures in order to ease this visa requirement, especially for tourists and the business community. So, collaboration can be summed up in these fields: agribusiness, also cattle raising. We are very famous in cattle raising. Actually, we are only 7.5 million inhabitants and 22 million cows. So I know in this part of India they like also good meat. We also have goats and sheep growing up. So we have plenty of field to collaborate in this area. Finally, cultural exchange. I believe that Nagaland is very strong in that field, and we can learn a lot of Nagaland in this regard. So I don't have any video to show you. I would like to show, but of course time is very short. So Paraguay, te ahibi. Good Lalin. Thank you very much.
I invite Mr. Manfred Oster, Consul General Germany, to come up on stage.
Thank you very much, and first of all, apologies to Ambassador Duarte for trying to jump the queue. Was just too keen to come on stage and address you all. Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I would, as apparently the only speaker from one of the G20 countries, other than the presidency, of course, I would like to use the opportunity to thank and congratulate our host country, India, and the host state, Nagaland, for organizing this G20 meeting here in Kohima. Thanks also to CII for organizing that. I think here and also with the other B20 meetings, you have done a very good job to reaching out to the northeast of India, something that my colleagues and I do appreciate very much, and I think it gives some of us a good opportunity to come here. The Honorable Chief Minister yesterday reminded us of the proud history and the geographical spread of Nagas. And that is something that fascinates me all the time. It is my second visit, and I'm really happy to be back in Nagaland. I first came here in December 2021 on the occasion of the Hornbill Festival, and I would like to really recommend that festival to all of my colleagues and all visitors from abroad in December. It is really mind-boggling. We will get a little taste of that probably this afternoon. But in 2021, unfortunately, that festival was cut short. It found a tragic ending with the killing of 14 civilians in Moon province by the blotched action of special forces. I think that the fact that the government of India is inviting us to Nagaland, despite of some ongoing demands from civil society that we could have read about today in the papers, is a sign of the maturity of the Indian democracy. And it is really good that we are here and that we are reading and learning from the Nagas about the situation here and about the ongoing negotiations and about the will on all sides to find solutions for that. For us as Germany, it is clear that the rule of law has to prevail and that it is a very good basis for solving conflicts, probably the only basis for coming to lasting solutions. And that is the case everywhere, domestically, but also in international relations. In international relations, also in the ongoing Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, and that has to be resolved according to and in full respect of international law, including the UN Charter. I think our leaders have said it very well in the Bali Declaration. They said today's era must not be of war. That is something that we have to reach for. The B20 outreach to the Northeast is very valuable, as I said in the beginning, to show the opportunities. And in all our endeavors, in all our cooperation, sustainability is key. Sustainability is also something that the G20 have enshrined in various declarations and in their programs. And after all, we all work for the implementation of the SDGs and the goals that the United Nations have set for 2030. We also see other crises, the climate crisis and the crisis of biodiversity, and here again Nagaland is an example of where we see a huge biodiversity that is being protected, and we also see probably that climate change is not stopping at its borders. And then again it shows us how this is all interlinked and how we have to work together for that. When it comes closer to the businesses that we have been introduced to today, I think what I take along is that in the sustainability elements we have talked about in the tourism sector, in the textile sector. We have also one of the sponsors, Eurocentric approach here, I guess. The Ecolastics as one of the sustainability partners, which are producing solutions that we can use in everyday life, and it is something that I also take along as a very important element for the future. I'm not going to go through all the elements that we have heard. We don't have the time for that. I'm simply saying it was a very enlightening one. I'm taking it back, and I'm sure that also my colleagues from the Diplomatic Corps are going to report back about the business opportunities here, and that we are trying to come forward with propositions, and that there will be a possibility of the B2B and also the G2B meetings later on today. Thank you very much for that.
And last but not the least, may I now invite Mr. Matlub Ahmed, President, India-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I may be the last speaker amongst the foreign countries here, but we're the nearest to Nagaland. We have common border with Northeast. If we take a flight, we can reach Bangladesh in less than 40-45 minutes. If we take the road, we can reach the Bangladesh border in 8 to 10 hours. That's how near we are. So I'm here, I'll also make a very short presentation in the sense that I'll limit my discussion to the business opportunities between Bangladesh and the Nagaland. First of all, I must tell you, I have come here with an 11-member team, strong team from Bangladesh. So thank you for accompanying me. And we have been supported by Mr. Atiqul Haq, the Honorable Minister Commercial in our Delhi Embassy. Thank you, Atiq Sahib, to have come and supported us here. I must tell you that Bangladesh and India has a very good political and business relationship for a pretty long time. From the start of our nation, we are indebted to India for their support during our liberation war with Pakistan. And today, if you look at Bangladesh, we have a lot of Indian investments. In fact, my company is partner for Tata Motors and Hero Motors. And we have almost all the big companies in Bangladesh investing there. The reason for investing in Bangladesh is all of them make money. And we have one of the best investment policies by the government. Her Excellency, our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, is very business friendly, industry friendly. And she has made rules and regulations which once a foreign investor comes into the country, they never want to go back. Tata is my partner for last 32 years. And Hero is for last 10 years. So they're all very, very happy with it. The way that I propose to states like Nagaland is to have a task force for building relationship for business and industry. I had a call on with the Honorable CM in the morning along with my delegation, and we have proposed to the government of Nagaland to create a task force for ensuring fast development of trade and investment and connectivity issues between Nagaland and Bangladesh. So we are, as you know, building our deep sea port in Chittagong, Matarbari, where the Honorable Prime Minister, His Excellency Modi Sahab, and the Japanese Prime Minister last week declared that this Matarbari deep sea port will be utilized for the economic development of the Northeast. And I requested His Excellency CM Yosa to declare before all the other Northeast states that Nagaland is ready to look into the prospects of using the Bangladesh deep sea port for connectivity. In fact, 8 years back, we had offered a bridge to be built between South Tripura and Bangladesh, the small river bridge, which has now linked the Tripura border with our Chittagong port only 72 kilometers. And that's going to happen. It's already on, and the railway connectivity is also being established so that the whole of Northeast can be connected between by the road and rail. I would like to say that this deep sea port will help Nagaland to increase their exports, have direct access to the world, and also import whatever they want through Bangladesh. The immediate doables between Nagaland and Bangladesh, I found that we can do immediate industries on medicine, herbal medicines, and we can make joint venture both in Bangladesh and Nagaland and have research amongst our two countries. The other thing that we can immediately import is spices like ginger, chili, cardamom. These are all required by Bangladesh. As you may know, we have almost 180 million people, 70 to 18 crore people. And so we need a lot of these spices. The other thing that really surprised me, because I'm a coffee drinker, I found the Naga coffee excellent. So I have proposed that we will look into the prospects of making a new franchise called Naga Coffee. Start with Bangladesh. We'll invest in the first coffee parlor in Bangladesh. And then from Bangladesh, we're going to move into Pan-India with the Naga coffee parlor. So I'm looking for Naga partners here who would like to talk to us. In fact, after this program, I'll be in the other room. So we'll be talking to people, trying to develop that. The other immediate doables is tourism. Bangladesh is absolutely flat, and we have rivers and sea. Here I see hills and beautiful scenarios. So we have complementary arrangements. So we are proposing, we have people from tourism with us. We are proposing agreements on exchanging of tourists between Nagaland and Bangladesh. And the industrial ventures, as you have heard now, that Nagaland is producing 5% of the bamboos produced all over India. That's huge. Now Bangladesh, we have paper mills, and we import pulp from far off countries, Sweden, Canada. So, but there are mills here which are not running that well. So I propose this to the government of Nagaland, that if you can produce pulp with the bamboos that are produced here, we are willing to also invest with you. We are going to buy 100% of all you produce and we'll export it to Bangladesh. I propose this one. The other thing you may know, that Bangladesh is now the world's second largest ready-made garments industries. Fantastic development, big industries are there. I again offered this to Nagaland government, that we can come here with our expertise, with our investments, and produce ready-made garments in Nagaland. Not for the world, but for India. Because India has a domestic demand of $40 billion of ready-made garments. So I've given them a target that let us take $1 billion worth of ready-made garments produced in Nagaland for the Indian market. So I've offered this to them. Lastly, I must thank the government of Nagaland, and especially the Honorable Chief Minister and all his colleagues for the wonderful hosting that has been done. And I was pretty surprised with the variety of food that has been served and the amount of variety that is, I cannot finish all. So I must come back again with all my team and taste the rest of the food that will be offered from Nagaland. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.